And we're back, and we're moving into our first Meet the Candidate segment for today. We are joined at this time via Zoom, Dr. Candy Spitz, who is the P.U.P standard bearer for Mesopotamia. Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene. Good morning to all the viewers. Good morning to Belizeans at home and abroad. Good morning to the residents of Mesopotamia, the beautiful constituency that I represent for the People's United Party. And good morning to my executive committee and all my supporters. Thank you for the unwavering support.
All right. Lots of energy this morning. Of course, this is the last stretch before the general elections, and we're glad that you had the time to be able to talk with us just about how things have been going and going back towards some of your motivations in running in this particular area. I want to start off for the people who don't know you as well, for them to find out a bit about who Candy Spitz is. So let's start there, just about your own journey growing up and how that has helped shape you into today.
Well, as I have said in other conversations, I am Candy Spitz, an educator by profession, the Belize, elected city councillor at the Belize City Council, and the P.U.P standard bearer for the Mesopotamia constituency. Yeah. But really just a servant of my country, genuinely about serving our country, serving our people, and fundamentally a girl from the south side of Belize City who I was exposed to all of the experiences that anyone is exposed to on the south side of Belize City. But I was fortunate to have the privilege of getting educational opportunities in the United States, where I did my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and then my doctoral degree. And I worked for a couple of years in the United States, and I made the conscious decision to return to Belize. But I did so because I wanted to teach at the University of Belize. And this came after I had read a letter that went viral on social media, and the letter was, I believe, it was from two German professors who were teaching at the University of Belize, and they made some very scathing remarks about the University of Belize, and I really just wanted to come back. Yeah. My friends my family, they could not believe that was a decision I was making, but I really just wanted to come back and to make whatever contribution I could have at the University of Belize. And then I also made the conscious decision to move right back to the south side of Belize City. Mm-hmm. And I realized, after all those years that I was abroad, that life did not change much for the people in my community. The crime rate was still spiking. People were still living in poverty. They were living in despair, hopelessness. Many of my friends were still unemployed and still are unemployed, a lack of opportunities for the youth. Yet, we continue to stereotype them. We continue to victimize and criminalize them, at least the state. The way that people are living is just in my mind, is just a direct reflection of their level of governance, the level of services from that they're receiving from the state, or the lack of those kinds of, or a breakdown in those kind of administrative services. And so I was approached to be a part of the municipal slate, the Belize City the City Council slate, mm-hmm. And I decided to accept because I wanted to make whatever contribution I could have as well, mm-hmm. in the direction that our politics is taken in Belize. And then, as you have, or as we have, as women, or as an entire country, realize that women are underrepresented at the governmental level in our country. We need more women. Mm-hmm. There has to be something fundamentally wrong in having our House of Representatives or National Assembly being predominated by men, having 31 men in our House of Representatives, or 30 or 29 or however many that we have or we will have. There is no way that I believe that all these men can genuinely or can effectively draft policies and draft laws that can improve the lives of our women. And as opposed to just standing on the sideline complaining, I decided to jump in the arena. It is a battle. It is an uphill battle, I think, not just from me, but for many women who enter this arena. But we have to step up to the plate and accept the challenge. So these are some of the primary reasons as to why I had entered this political arena. And when you look at a constituency such as Mesopotamia, as I've mentioned, it's a constituency that is in perimeter 2.4 square miles. It has a population of roughly 8,000 residents and 2277 registered voters. One of the smallest constituency that is also close to the city center, the financial, close to Albert Street, the financial capital of the city. Yet half of the people are living in poverty. Half of the young people are without educational opportunities. The elders are without the kind of medical care that they need. They're living in deplorable housing conditions. They really need better representation. And I am doing my utmost best to assist the residents, even though my party is not in power. And I want to continue with this level of care for them. I want to continue with this level of representation. I just really want to help to restore Mesopotamia and to improve the lives of the residents of Mesopotamia.
So let's step back, because there was a lot. Thank you for sharing so much of the journey that you've taken so far. But I want to step it way back, because when we focus in, and I know you are always asked because you're one of the few female candidates, but we have to talk about women representation because they are so few. But there is a reason, that there is a barrier that exists in women entering into politics. And that barrier is not just the public perception. Oftentimes, it comes from the parties itself in being able to fully embrace the idea of having equal representation, equal opportunities, and similarly moving beyond this whole idea of tokenism. So when you made that jump, what was it really like to be a woman out there campaigning? And what's the difference that you see, if there's any, in being a woman running for office?
Well, as I've said, I do believe that I, on a daily basis, and perhaps other women as well, but I know that I have to fight fights that men will never have to fight. As I have mentioned earlier, that one of the primary reasons why I have entered this political arena is because of the underrepresentation of women in our politics, in our governance. And you would never have that argument coming from a man. A man will never say to you that one of the reasons why I want to enter politics is because men are underrepresented in politics or in our governance, in Belize or perhaps, many parts of the world. There are also other sacrifices that I have had to make, personal sacrifices, certain things that I, personally want, I have to put on place. And I know those would never be the expectations of men. I actually had to be a lot more aggressive just to be where I am today, to have a constituency to represent. Meanwhile, I really don't see that, yes, men are fighting, but I don't know that they had to fight to the extent that perhaps I have had to fight just to be here and for other women to be where they are. Yeah. So it is a level of disparity and still inherent injustice, even though there are many men who would not admit to that. But as you have said, there are certain barriers that we still have to be fighting as women in this country. It's plain to see, even though political parties would say that they're fighting to have more women inclusion. When you look around, you don't see the women. So there is something fundamentally wrong that our party, that our men have to reckon with and fix for there to be changes. If we're talking about a democracy, if you're talking about having strong and effective policies, right, and laws, then you have to have a balance. You have to allow women to be a part. This is a country where 51% of the population are women. How it is that we are not participatory in the highest offices of this land when we make up more than the population, more of the population of the country.
And I think that a lot of it has to do with women not feeling brave enough to take the journey that you have. But moving from the national level to the local level, when you are out doing your campaigns and meeting with residents within Mesopotamia, is this an opportunity for you, speaking about being a female representative? How do you sell yourselves to them, or do you feel that you still have to overcome the gender barrier?
Well, to be honest, I really do think that the residents, even when I was campaigning for a municipal election, the residents have accepted me for what it is that I present to them. I have always been very genuine. I have always been very sincere. And that's one thing about people in general, but particularly the residents of Mesopotamia and those in the city that I have campaigned to, they're very perceptive, and they can read through you, and they can see when you're BSing them. And the last thing they ever want you to do is to make promises to them, or to set them up or disappoint them or deceive them. And that those have been some of the hallmarks of politics, not just in Belize, But I don't know that. I really don't know if it's gender that they see first. But they have always, residents have always been receptive to me. I don't think that anyone has ever closed their doors on me or turned me away or disrespected me or insult, not the residents anyway. So no, I really do think that they receive me for what it is, that the conversations that I've had with them, the level of care that I'm able to share them, the sincerity, as I've mentioned, and so they treat me accordingly.
So tell us about what your campaign has been like so far. You're still going out and meeting people face to face. Talk to us about that strategy and just what the reception has been so far.
As I've mentioned, the residents of Mesopotamia have been very warm and very welcoming. I think they realize that I bring a new kind of politics to them. It's a politics that is grounded in care, just simple care, just showing the residents that you sincerely care about them, and you sincerely want to help them, you sincerely want to restore their community. Many of our citizens, not just in Mesopotamia, have been accustomed to, have been exposed for far too long to insults and disrespect, from the people who fight to represent them. After they receive their votes and after they win their elections, residents just become, disposable. When they go to see these politicians for the service, mind you, that the state should offer, they have to endure, as I've mentioned, disrespect and insult. I don't have it in me to be disrespectful to anyone, not even a dog. Even a dog you ought to be polite to, and they're able to see this. A few of the difficulties that I've had to face so far actually uh, come from the people that it ought not to, that they ought not to come from. For instance, I have said to my committee that we will not touch a single campaign paraphernalia of our opponent. We are not into those kinds of dirty politics. As soon as we put up any of our stuff, they're ripped down, and they're tampered with, and it's and the residents can see this, and they're telling us who it is that they see are doing these stuff. So the challenges actually are coming from the men who are representing our politics and who are fighting to represent our people. But the residents now, they're receptive to the changes that they see that me and my team and I represent.
When we look at the landscape of Mesopotamia and just the history of it, it is without a doubt, it has been a UDP stronghold. The representative that they last had has been their representative since 1993. And so many dismiss that any candidate that goes up against a UDP candidate in that area is fighting an uphill battle. What has been your sense in reaching out to these residents who seem to be very dedicated and loyal to one political party, not yours especially?
Well, when you have the real conversations with the residents of Mesopotamia, they're able to share their experiences. And many of them have said that it was almost as if they had no real choice. They have had really one option that was able to control them in many ways. Marlene, in a conversation that I've had before, in an interview, someone had asked, that based on the history of violence and of exploitation and poverty and crime, many countries have resorted to violence to get rid of those systems of exploitation and oppression. And so they asked, considering the high level of poverty and crime and unemployment in some of these communities in our country, why haven't our people resorted to violence? And my response was that the state and those who represent the state, have a way of controlling people. And I've gave a specific example. If you have a family with a single mother and perhaps 7 children, and a politician may offer one of those children, perhaps not even a full scholarship, perhaps a half of a scholarship, that parent would feel obligated to that politician, that single mother or that single father, even though there's an exclusion of the other 6 children, and even though they still live in poverty, right? That parent may very well not risk the future or the possibility of that one child who has a half of a scholarship by revolting or resisting, that politician. And so this is the ways in which these politicians are able to control these community by, giving them a $50 every week or every other week, or, giving them pantry. We have seen pictures of, some of these ministers of government who, in a room full of pantry, as if though this is a pantry country. Now, I know that my team also offers pantry, but, we have considered the deficiencies in our state services and the level of poverty that our people are still living in. We are not trying to contribute to that, but we know from our intimate relationship with these residents that they are in need. But I don't know what excuses the ministers of government have for creating this level of for contributing to this level of poverty and then keeping our people dependent and poor by just, giving them these hands out. The residents are going back to the residents of Mesopotamia. They are frustrated. They're disappointed. Many of them, Marlene, it is a shame when we say that this is a UDP stronghold, and many of these residents, are unemployed. All these young men are asking for the same young men that the state, not me, that the state refers to as animals and as criminals, are without opportunities. They don't have jobs. Many of them, the literacy rate in Mesopotamia is very low. Many of them have not even entered high school, much less to graduate from high school. So what it is that we are saying then, if we want to claim and if we want to boast that this is a UDP stronghold for the past 30 years, we have the former minister of housing there for the past 20 plus years, and our people are living like this, and we don't think that they deserve change, or they don't think, which is not the case, because they are, as I've said, they are receptive to the new kind of politics that we are bringing. So, they want change. They want change. And as a country, we should be ensuring that they receive the kind of changes that they need, the restoration of their community that they need. As I've mentioned, Mesopotamia is in a state of moral and physical decay. We have to do better by our people.
Now, when you look at the upcoming election, and if you are elected to office, what do you want? What do you feel that if you are the representative for Mesopotamia, what do you feel will be the most pertinent actions that you'll have to tackle as soon as you get into office if you're successful?
Well, it is really to address that issue of poverty. I am committed to launch a comprehensive war on poverty in Mesopotamia. And you know that there are many factors that lead to poverty in communities such as Mesopotamia in particular. And as I've mentioned, unemployment is one of them. Educational opportunities is another one. Lack of opportunities, period, for the youth. Yeah. Financial resources for the elderly, particularly for them to access medical care. And so one of the things, and it is something that I have already embarked on, is to help create jobs in Mesopotamia. The sewing factory that my team and I, and with assistance from private donorship, created, helped to train close to 20 women in that constituency, and to give them the skill set to generate their own income. Mm-hmm. And our plan, my team's commitment, is to create other industries. Simultaneously with the opening of the sewing center, I had also pitched the idea of a carving center. Mm-hmm. Many of the men are interested in it. And so that is something that I would immediately invest in, and perhaps both the sewing center and the carving center can expand, into their own industry in Mesopotamia, where we can hire more people right in the division. I am also interested in a cannery. My team is also interested in a cannery to allow residents to invest in agriculture, where they will, produce, grow their own produce, and also can them. We, instead of importing pineapples, we produce some of the best pineapples, can our okras, our pineapples, our tomatoes, whatever, we produce. But these initiatives will be able to provide more jobs for the residents right in Mesopotamia. And of course, invest in education. I know, and people like me from the south side of the city and many parts of this country know that education is one of the clearest paths out of poverty. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the reasons why I celebrate the P.U.P's commitment to ensure that education is free for all Belizeans from preschool to sixth form. This will tremendously assist all the residents of Mesopotamia. And again, land ownership, property ownership. We know that property ownership equals power. And so every resident should have access, over the age of 18, should have access to a piece of land. We're going to make maximum use of the land space in Mesopotamia to give residents a range of options for home ownership, allow them to have the access to the resources to repair, the houses in which they live, are really to launch a war on poverty and to just restore the constituency of Mesopotamia.
When you look at what is happening in that particular area, and I think you noted it before, that there is a level of dependency. However, the area itself is battling a number of social ills, as you pointed out, from unemployment to lack of education opportunities to poverty, and especially crime. We didn't even touch on crime. So how do you plan to be able to balance between meeting people with the basic needs, but also shifting away from this high dependency that perhaps has been developed over time?
Right, which is why primary on my objectives are the creation of jobs. The creation of jobs. Of course, they're going to be dependent when they are unemployed, but it has been designed that way, and this is how these politicians can win elections after elections, because you keep your people dependent, you keep them poor, you can control them, right? That is not my philosophy. It is to empower the residents of Mesopotamia, and to give them the means by which, or to help, not give, but to provide for them the means through which they can empower themselves and to be self-reliant. And one of those is through the creation of jobs, and the other one would be through the investment in educational opportunities. So yes, we have to consider the times in which we live. COVID-19, many of these residents still have not received any assistance from the COVID relief that the state, has promised. They haven't received from the first cycle, nor from the second cycle. I cannot know this. I know that they're in need. I know that they don't have food, and not try to assist them, which is why we have our pantry distribution. But it's not to contribute to the dependencies, just because we know that that was also the motivation for the soup kitchen that we also created in Mesopotamia. We know that even when some of the residents received their pantry, the elderly and those who are living alone, they didn't have the wherewithal to cook. And so, we delivered food from the kitchen to them. But it's not to keep them dependent. It's because we have an intimate relationship with them and we are aware of some of their immediate needs. But our long-term goal is to make the residents of Mesopotamia feel empowered, feel free. And that, as I've mentioned, will be through job creation and the investment in education and home ownership.
Dr. Pitts, if you are successful in the election come next Wednesday, it would be a historic upset in that particular area and in the political history of our country. How optimistic are you feeling at this time?
Well, since I've entered electoral politics, I have been sincere with my own emotions. And everything that I have said to you is the truth. The reasons why I've entered politics. And I've had to have those motivations to keep grounded, because as you know, it is a challenging arena. But every day I awake, I am able to motivate myself because I know the objective that I have in mind, and it's simply to serve my country, and it is simply to serve my people, our people, really. And when you get to know the residents of Mesopotamia, you see their suffering, you just really want to help. And this has been my motivation. It's really just to help improve the lives of our residents, and to really and truly change the direction of the politics. And we can't allow Belize, our beautiful country, to be mismanaged and to be to be spiraling into the muck. We need better people in our governance, and this is my motivation, Marlene. And so I continue the fight. I continue the good fight because it's a fight for my country and it's a fight for our people.
All right. Well, we appreciate you having this conversation this morning. Of course, this is a lead up to our election coverage next week. It's a chance for people to get to know their candidates. Dr. Pitts, we appreciate you sharing your story, and please do stay safe on that campaign trail.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, we are going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about good governance, but specifically in Dangrega and a new NGO that's working towards it. So please stay tuned.